All right, I'm just going to walk through some of the density notes here. So density equals m for mass divided by volume. M over v, that's the formula. Over here, if you're looking at this tower, this is what we call a density tower. And you can see that the most dense items are going to sink to the bottom, while the least dense items kind of float to the top. So oil is less dense than water, and that's why oil floats on water. Density describes the relationship between the mass and volume of a substance. So density is going to compare mass and volume. The most common units are going to be grams per milliliter or grams per centimeter cubed. The density of water is simply 1 grams per milliliter or 1 grams per centimeter cubed. It is useful to know this because we can compare the density of water to other things. So one thing we can ask ourselves is, will it sink or float in water? Excuse me. Density is a physical property. It's also an intensive property. It doesn't change when you change the size of a substance. So if you had a piece of cork, for example, it'll float on water. Even if you had a giant piece of cork, it's going to float on water. Okay, so it doesn't matter what size it is, it'll have the same property. Same with like a piece of wood. Okay, you're going to do a little mini lab next. So if you want to switch the video to do the mini lab, make sure you record all the data and fill in that table calculating the density. It's simply mass divided by the volume. I'm going to continue on and work on some practice problems here. I won't solve all of them, but I'll get them started for you. So what is the density of a substance whose mass is 15 grams and volume is 30 milliliters? So I always like to write what's given. They give me M and they give me V. Okay, so here I just have to combine those numbers. Density is going to be 15 grams over 30 milliliters. You can punch that in. Make sure your final answer has the correct number of sig figs as well. Our second example problem here. The density of a substance is 0.5 grams per milliliters. So they give us density. And it occupies 2.3 milliliters. So milliliters is always going to be volume. What is the mass? So I don't know the mass here. So I'm going to help you out. If we do some algebra, we can rearrange this equation. And mass is going to equal density times the volume. So all you got to do is plug in these numbers and solve for the mass. Okay, last example problem here. The density of a substance is 1.5, so they give us the density. And they give us the mass. The mass is 23.8. What volume does this substance occupy? So same thing here. If I do some algebra, I can basically switch these two around. I'm multiplying both sides by volume, and then I'm dividing both sides by density. So algebraically, we can end up with a volume formula. It's going to be mass divided by density. So you've got those two numbers. Go ahead and solve, and for all these, make sure you're using the correct units and the correct number of significant figures. Okay, that's it.